Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a new card making video. We are making 5 cards today, but I'm sharing 6. One I already made, and they're all featuring the May Club kits from Spellbinders. They have so many different kits, all for any paper crafting thing that you love to do. The first one I'm using is the large die with the grand tropical flamingos and the 3D embossing folder called Scattered Tropics. These go so well together. They're gorgeous. And this first card is actually one I made on a live video on the 1st of May. And you can watch that, watch the replay after this video. I'll have it linked for you below and at the end of this video. So you can see I did both of the flamingos that you can make in this die set where they face each other. One can be standing on one leg and the other one has 2 legs. And I have some custom sentiments on there that you can get for free if you join my channel, which is just a 99-cent thing, and you can download that for free and cut them out and have them on your flamingo cards or pineapple cards, as we'll go over later. So I used some acrylic paint inside my 3D embossing folder and made my backgrounds here, and I have some extras left over which I'll be giving away in this video. So stay tuned for how I'm giving away some backgrounds for you to use at home, and I think maybe you guys will like that, to have some of my backgrounds because I have so many. Okay, speaking of backgrounds, I am taking that piece that I used to die cut out the leaves for my first card, and I'm going to use it as a stencil. So I'm taping a piece of white cardstock to the back. It's 4 inches wide by 8.5 inches long. I actually am not going to use it as a slimline, but I wasn't sure at this point. So I'm taking some Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide spray and spraying right over the top of that. Because this is paper, it could be a little bit harder to actually stencil it, and the leaves, like the palm frond leaves, are just so thin and delicate. So then I rotated that, and I'm going to spray it again with Bubbling Cauldron Distress Mica spray stain. So I'm going to get a little bit of shimmer on this. Now this is a seasonal product, so sometimes the mica spray stains can be hard to find unless it's around Halloween or Christmas, and they kind of rotate which sets go out each year. So you could use whatever sprays you have at home here. You could fill in some gaps by masking off parts of the stencil if you wanted to do that. I'm going to leave it just like this, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and cut this apart to use it. I'm also going to use that stencil piece on a card, so stay tuned for all the background fun in today's video. All right, I am pulling in now the clear stamp and die of the month to go with my background. This is so cool. It has images that you can use in the corner of your card. I'm going to start out with the smaller one that has a little tropical bird in it, and I'm going to emboss that. So I used my anti-static powder tool from Rabbit Hole Designs, and I'm going to ink that up with some clear embossing ink and emboss it with black powder. So the powder is going to stick only to my image because I used my anti-static powder tool. And by the way, that one is my favorite. It is so good, and they just came out with a patent on it. So it's a really good tool. If you haven't tried it out before, ask me questions in the comments below. I recently got to visit with the owner of Rabbit Hole Designs and learn even more about it, and I just think it's a fabulous tool and a great company to support. All right, so now I'm watercoloring my images. I am using my watercolor crayons. I thought I was going to use watercolor paints. However, I have some artistic children that live in my house that sometimes borrow all my things. So I just pulled out my watercolor crayons, left them right in the palette, and I'm using them as paints. And you can see here I'm mixing some of the colors to create my leaves so that some of them are just straight up green, and then I mixed one leaf with yellow and one leaf with brown so I can get different tones. And then I'm shading around the whole thing with some really watered down of that light blue, or the turquoise blue. All right, so there's the finished image, and then there's a die to cut this out, but these are only going to cut on, you know, like 2 sides, and the other 2 sides you're going to cut with your paper cutter or scissors, or you could get smarter than me and stamp this in the corner. And then you only have to cut with the die. So next I wanted to create a shadow layer for this. So I'm taking the same exact die, this time cutting it in the corner, and I had this bright pink paper that's really going to bring out the pink in that flower in that colored image. I'm going to offset it a little bit and that will go right in the corner. Before I stuck it down, I decided I needed a little more pink in my background, so I just used my Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide Spray, pulled out the nozzle and tapped that on and just let it dry. Once it was dry, I wanted a little bit more green. So I took some Twisted Citron, one of my most favorite Distress Oxide colors, and a little finger dauber and added a little color around the entire edge of my background. And then because I hadn't glued this down yet, I decided let's do some foam squares. All right, I'm bringing an image in from the Tropical Bloom Glimmer Kit of the month and am going to hot foil that with some pink foil on pink cardstock. If you have trouble hot foiling on colored cardstock, you should check out the Spellbinders paper. It is extremely smooth and I find great for hot foiling. So here we have Sending Best Wishes with pink foil on pink paper, and there is a die to cut out those glimmer hot foil images, or sentiments I should say, and so that worked out perfect for my card. I'm going to put that onto a piece of vellum. The vellum is going to get tucked behind my bird image, and then I will glue my sentiment right onto that vellum after trimming it off the edge of the paper. We've got to embellish. I have some glass gems here, like rhinestones, that's hard to say. I added those on in the teal or kind of turquoise color to accentuate the bird. Now I'm going to use a ton of embellishments from Trinity Stamps today, and I'm going to link their shop below because they have so many fun embellishments. I have a ton of them and I use them a lot, so you can check them out too if you like. All right, so remember that piece I used as a stencil? Now I'm going to use it to create a background. I'm going to glue it onto this like almost fluorescent green cardstock. So I've got that kind of olive color, but you know, it's got the ink splatter on it. So it's got mica spray and some darker areas, some little splatter marks. It makes for a gorgeous background. Once that is glued in place, I'll just trim off the edge, following along the edge of my light green paper. And then wow, I love how this background turned out. And I feel like so resourceful because I'm not wasting any of the things, you know? So let's turn this background now into a card. I'm bringing back the clear stamp of the month and stamping out the flamingos. And while I do that, I wanted to let you know about the club kits. It is a subscription. So you subscribe and you can get the kit at your house every month. And it is, you're able to cancel it anytime that you want. And there are so many different club kits that you could actually get all of them in a bundle and get a great savings. So I'm going to link all the club kits that are offered for you below. There is a visual product list you can click on and see all of them. And then also they have the caboodle where you can get all of them at a savings. Plus they give you free product. I'm going to use one of the free things in this video today too. So it's a really great deal. They've got dies, glimmer hot foil, BetterPress, stitching, stencils, embossing folders, wax seal. I mean, it's just too much fun. And they almost always coordinate together. And that's why I like doing these videos, is because I can show you how the different products in that month's club kits go together so well. So we are now using that larger flamingo image from the clear stamp of the month and some more watercoloring. This is the only set of the watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz that I own. And so I'm just trying to kind of create my own colors. So I'm working on a little bit of an orange here with that. I think it's like Rusty Hinge and mustard seed that I'm using, and then it really came out great as an orange. And then here I am altering the leaf color again, this time using, I think it's Salvaged Patina, and then I'll use a little bit of the green together, and it gives me an even different shade of green. And I think it's just fun to play with your colors that way and not limit yourself to just the colors shown there, but that's, you know, the fun of watercoloring. All right, so this image is beautiful. So many different things that you can, you know, color. You can color it so many different ways. You don't have to just do watercolor, but it really has that loose, sketchy feel to it. So I think it is a great image to use watercolor with. So I enjoyed doing that, and it is sometimes, you know, kind of relaxing to do watercolor because it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect. And I love that. I am going to do a little shadow around the edge of this one as well. And so it's not just stark white. I like that little bit of, almost looks like sky behind there. All right, so there it is all colored up, and then we'll take the die, cut it out, and you can see this time I did put it in the corner. And so it'll be a lot easier to do. And then I just had a little excess at the bottom. I'll end up trimming that off after I add a shadow. I found some cardstock that is very close to that kind of salvage patina color, which by the way is like my favorite color. And then I'll offset this one as well. Whenever I'm making a bunch of cards together, I tend to repeat different elements throughout my cards like this, where I offset them. And I'm going to use a lot of flowers, the smallest flower from the large die in today's video, with gems in the center. And some more of my custom sentiments. Stand tall like a flamingo, I added to this one as well. I did stand strong and stand tall like a flamingo. And I have different fonts you can mix and match, and different sizes. All right, I am taking this, I'm calling it a palm frond, that's what I'm calling it, and I cut it from some of that more teal cardstock and added that at the top. It just needed like a little extra something, and I love the look of that color together. Tropical colors, I just went crazy with the tropical colors today, and I think it was so much fun, like a different color palette than I normally play with, and it was just fun to do. All right, so on the yellow flowers, I added a little yellow ink to the center to just give them a little more interest, and some more of those glass rhinestones. Ooh, I think they're called dewdrops. Yeah, and this is kind of a purplish pink and really went with some of the flowers in my image, so I added those in and around the card, popping them up with some foam squares. I love dimension on my cards. I know they're a little bit more expensive to send, and postage is, you know, more and more every day, but you know, a handmade card, you just can't beat a handmade card, you know. And a lot of these cards you could probably deliver, if you know, with a package or something, to someone if they're really thick. Do that. Hand deliver those ones. All right, so I'm gluing on the stand tall at the top of the card to finish off the card front. And this is a slimline card, so this is going to go on an 8.5 by 3.5 card base. I did cut my card front so that I would have a nice white border all the way around the edge. I really like a white border on my cards, and most of my cards will have that. But sometimes you like the whole paper to go to the edge. So just, you know, do what makes you happy and what fits your images. Sometimes, you know, you have to make your card front bigger so everything fits on there. All right, so there is my slimline card. We're going to move on to card number 4, a shaker card. I'm using the rest of this piece right here, and I made a little template so that the flowers kind of fit in the more open space on this panel. And I'm using it's one of the Distress mica spray stains I'm using there in pink to make my flowers. And I loved how it turned out. However, it's going to fit in a shaker window, and I do actually end up adding a couple more flowers. All right, so this is the Wild and Free BetterPress plate. I'm going to show you how I BetterPress this with the BetterPress system from Spellbinders. You can see here I'm trying it out. How's it going to look in my window for a shaker card? And I decided to add a couple more flowers. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super happy with how it turned out, but I should have left it. But it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm going to move forward, keep going, and ink up my BetterPress plate as it is on the BetterPress system. And I'm using Wild Berry ink. The BetterPress ink is a little bit, it's a specialized formula so that you don't get like the ink beating up on there, and so it's a really good ink to use on your BetterPress, but you don't have to limit yourself to only BetterPress ink. You can play around and do different techniques with your BetterPress plates too. I'm now going around only the center with the garnet ink, and the way that the BetterPress works, it's really easy to run it multiple times. So now I've got that darker center with the lighter pink around the edge, but I'm going to go even lighter on pink ink that I brayer over the top. And this is going to kind of give it a really light pink finish. And because the BetterPress is, you know, pressed down into the paper, the ink is just going to cover up the paper around my images. So it was just a fun technique that you can do. And now I'm going to cut out the center. Now I am pretty sure Spellbinders has a die this shape. They have so many like nesting kind of dies. So you could probably find one that would cut this out. I'm not sure, but I don't have it. So I just cut that out and it worked fine. One thing you have to be careful when you turn corners with the cotton paper from Spellbinders that's specifically designed for the BetterPress, you can kind of more easily tear your paper. Okay, this flower right here is actually from the large die with the flamingo, and you have 5 different petals here that you can glue together in the center to create this really large tropical bloom. It is gorgeous. I'm adding a little fresh lemon ink with my finger dauber there so it kind of fades to white at the end of the petals. And then I'm using coral berry ink on the centerpiece of the flower, which is actually 2 pieces you layer up. There are 3 different dies you can layer onto the petals so it looks like the petals are curved up. I'll show you one of them. I didn't ever use the third one, but I'm going to use those other dies as something else in this video. I added those big leaves to my flower, and they're going to go around the frame of my shaker. And you saw I already added a window sheet to the back of my shaker, and now it's time to add the foam tape. So you want some foam tape that's going to go all the way around your window so that the edges touch. That way your little shaker bits cannot escape. I am using the world's best foam tape from Pear Blossom Press here, and I'll show you why it's the best in just a moment. I tried it and it truly is the best. Okay, so I'm adding some flat confetti pieces from Trinity. I tried to just play with those tropical colors. I first used a mix that's called Margarita, and then I added some, I think, Fashion Doll, and this is like a forest color, forest green or something like that. And then I'm adding some micro beads, which is one of my favorite things to add in my shakers. But I realized right here that I had a tiny little gap in my foam tape and my micro beads will escape. So do you see what I'm doing here? Peeling my foam tape right off of there. That's why it's called the world's best foam tape, because it's repositionable for about 30 minutes and permanent after 24 hours. I put it to the test and it's fabulous. Now you might see there was some glue on there. That's not because this tape does not stick. It's because when I peeled off that foam tape, my microbeads jumped up onto my foam tape a little bit. And so I put glue on one side, and if I'm going to put glue on one side, I'm going to put it on all the sides, and it was fine. All right, so now I'm adding some more of those tiniest flowers. They're actually the flowers I die cut from that piece that I used as a stencil. So I didn't want those to go to waste either. And I added some baubles that are shiny and iridescent in the centers. Now we need a sentiment. So with the BetterPress plates, you can also use them as a hot foil plate, which I love. So I've got my bright green cardstock and my just green hot foil that I'm using, and that's going to make a really bright and fun sentiment for my card. And I love that I can either hot foil these or BetterPress them. So it says be wild and free on your birthday. I really do love bubble cut sentiments, so I decided to be wild and free with the scissors and bubble cut this out. You can see I am moving the paper with my left hand and keeping my scissor hand still, and that has been the trick for me to do cutting, plus lots of practice and letting go of perfectionism. That's the trick to fussy cutting. So I glued that onto the top corner. I'm adding some more rhinestones. These are really shiny, so pretty, and like I said, Spellbinders has a ton of embellishments, so does Trinity, and I just love adding a touch of embellishment. So make sure you check out Spellbinders for embellishments and also Trinity stamps. Okay, so there's my shaker. It's got embellishments, flowers, BetterPress, hot foil. I just love all the texture in it. Okay, let's move on to card number 5, where we're going to do some hot foil with this tropical bloom flower. It is so beautiful. I love the thick lines of this plate. gorgeous. And I'm doing that same bright pink foil onto pink cardstock. I'm going to give it a little bit of tape in place. I'm going to let that set on the BetterPress system for about a minute. That's how long the timer takes. When the timer goes off, I run it through my die cut machine, and I've got this stunning flower. Look at that. I can't even. Okay, then I took a solid plate and the excess foil, the piece I just peeled off, put that pretty side down onto that solid plate and white cardstock, very smooth white cardstock, and I added an extra shim in between my plates. Once that was heated up, I ran it through my die machine, and now I am not wasting this foil either. I have an extra background. I don't end up using this one, and it's one of the backgrounds I will be giving away in today's video. Okay, so remember I told you about the free things you can get if you order the Caboodle? They have a set of stencils, and this month they have 2 things they're giving away: the Tropical BetterPress Sentiments. So if you get the Caboodle, sometimes you get 1 free thing, but this month 2. I only got the stencils. I get my stuff from Spellbinders as I'm one of their designers. So whatever they send me, I am sharing with you, and I got the stencils and I love it because I am adding a little bit of shading to each of these leaves. Now you could do this on white cardstock and do, some ink blending and have each petal have a multiple of different colors on it. That would be really pretty. So many different ways you can do this, and I love the look of stenciling over a flower. It's so gorgeous. And there are 2 different layers, so it's easy to stencil this with different colors because you have that option of the second stencil. So there it is. There's even a portion on the stencil to do your stem. So I'm going to do that as well. I'm doing all of mine just in pink, and I love it. I love the stencil. All right, so there's the flower all ready to go. Yeah, I had to cut it out. I really wanted this on top of a card, so I am fussy cutting. This is an easy one to cut out. I am leaving a border around the edge on mine when I cut it out. Next, I am using this Lattice embossing folder of the month, also one of the club kits, and I'm going to ink it up. I love inky techniques. I love making my own backgrounds, and I love doing it with embossing folders. If you want more ideas with using your embossing folders, specifically 3D embossing folders, I happen to have 2 different videos for embossing folders. I will put them in the description box below because they're tons of fun, and you can do them with like any embossing folder, really. All right, so I inked that up with my Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink. Then I sprayed it with my Rustic Wilderness. I'm going to run that through, and this is what I got. So you could use this whole panel or cut it up, and you've got multiple backgrounds, or 2 anyway, depending on the card size you use. And so I'm going to take half of that. I'm making an A2 size card, and I am putting a little bit of Rustic Wilderness around the edge of this one with my blending brush, and it just helps draw the eye into the center. And I like doing it. I did it on that other card, my small 4x4 card, and loved the look, so I did it here. I am spritzing this one a little bit to give a little bit more of splatter or like a watermark through that inked edge. And there we have our background ready to go. I'm going to bring in the sentiment set from this and use the Thinking of You. Remember, I used the Sending You Wishes earlier on my smaller card, and now I'm going to do the Thinking of You also using that bright green paper with the green foil. I love this combination. So pretty. And then, of course, cutting it out with the coordinating die. I will end up backing this with 2 extra die cuts to give it a little lift. And here I am adding a die cut palm frond, the same one I used on the slimline, not the same exact die cut, but the same paper that I used to die cut the palm frond on my slimline card, I'm using on this card as well. I added that Thinking of You. I'm going to add a little bit of color in the center of my flowers, and this tiny little blending brush from Spellbinders. I love it. It had some darker yellow in it, so my squeezed lemonade ink is not really coming out as squeezed lemonade, but that's okay. Adding some baubles to the center of this one that are just So shiny and so pretty. And then we'll put the whole thing together. So this little strip here, I'm going to glue down. I also put a little bit of double stick tape in the center so that it would stick over that really textured surface. And then I'll add my flower. I'm going to tuck part of it behind that sentiment strip just for a little bit of visual interest. And then I cut off the excess of my sentiment banner there, and then adding on my flowers. So very pretty. This is also going onto an A2 sized card base, and that is it. I wanted to not put anything at the top, but it needed something, so I added a few more embellishments. I didn't want to hide very much of the lattice work because so much of it was already covered. I wanted some of it to show. So even though I felt like it needed a little something, I left it. I have this like problem where more is more, and I'm always putting stuff on my cards. But today I wanted that to show. So there is my hot foiled card, mixing it with a bunch of the other club kits because that's what I love to do. All right, we have one more card, card number 6, and we're bringing in the stencil of the month, Tropical Spray. This is a 2-piece stencil set, and it is so much fun. Look at that. So we're going to play with sprays again because I have been using the sprays plus tropical spray. I kind of had to, right? So I've got my Wonderland and Shiny Bauble Distress Mica spray stains. And so this is going to give me a nice shimmer. I did not want to waste any of that ink, so I'm going to pick it up with a second piece of 6x6 cardstock there in white. And I've got a second background. All right, so let's see what this looks like when we remove the stencil. It is so cool, and it's going to look even cooler with the second layer. So let's put on the second stencil, bring in the second spray color, and spray that on. I'm going to pick up the excess with the same piece of paper, but I really wish I would have picked it up with a third piece of paper and left this one how it was. So I didn't, and I think I've got a couple ideas on how this could be enhanced because it's a little messy looking. I think I would take one of the stencils and do like a paste over the top and see how that looked, but also it could be great for die cutting. So you could add to it or die cut it. That's what I think. But the stenciled image right here is gorgeous. There you can see what they look like side by side. Yeah, we definitely got to do something with the one on the left there. Okay, so I used that piece of paper that I earlier used as a stencil to die cut a bunch of flowers. I also die cut some more palm fronds, and I am die cutting all the things to make another flamingo. So I wanted to show you that I added a little ink to the flamingo with the Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide ink. I mean, you almost have to use that color, right? Yeah, so a little shading on there. And then there's 2 pieces to make the beak. I did a black and pink beak. I've seen a few different ways of people doing this with some white in there too, or instead of the pink. And then the legs, you can see they have like a really big dot at the top. That's so you can glue them together. Oh, also, this little dot I'm gluing behind the eye to make it black can also be used as a pink cheek for your flamingo. And then I am gluing my legs together, like I said, with that big dot at the top, and then you can use that to glue them to the back of the flamingo. They're very delicate legs. Okay, let's put the whole thing together. I added my darker green palm fronds and then my lighter green, but leaving one space open at the bottom to add my flamingo. Once that is glued in place, then I can add on that final palm frond going over the flamingo's legs. And that looks great. I love the kind of wreath look of this, the splash in the background, very tropical. I'm going to trim off any excess of those palm fronds, and I like that trimmed look. It just gives it a polished look. Okay, this die right here is what creates the edge of the petals on that large flower, but I use them as leaves here. And then for my pink flowers, I'm offsetting them with a darker pink flower to give them a more full look. I did that on all the flowers, but only one on each of the corners got the leaves. And then I'll add in my shiny baubles there, and using my pickup tool to do that is very helpful. And then I'm going to do some embellishment flowers in yellow. I just wanted a third element in the corner. You know, we got to design with 3s, so I wanted my flowers to be in a grouping of 3. I actually doubled up those flowers, so there's 2 on the little yellow flowers as well. and they each got a little yellow bauble. All right, I'm adding my sentiment, which is kind of a tribute to a friend of mine, Amy. She was an amputee and started a foundation that had a flamingo standing on one foot, and her motto was "Stand Strong." And I just loved it so much. So this is in memory of Amy, who has since passed and has always meant something to me. So I am including those free for my members. Remember, it's 99 cents and you get to download this, cut it out with your Cameo silhouette, your Cricut, your Brother Scan and Cut if you like, and add them to your cards. And I'm happy to share that with you. Okay, so there are all 6 of my cards. Make sure you catch the video of the very first card that is a live replay. It's a fun watch, and with some of my friends also creating with this month's club kits. And there are actually 3 club kits I did not share with you today because there are a total of 11 club kits from Spellbinders. I'm going to have all the details linked for you below so you can check that out. And I'm going to show you the 3 I didn't use today. One of them is the wax seal of the month, which I do get. I just somehow didn't fit it in, and it's so cute. Then we have our small die. Speaking of cute things, look at those birds. And then the stitching die, which is a giant pineapple that you can stitch. It's so cool. So if you want all 11 club kits, you want to get that deluxe caboodle at $120. It's a great savings by bundling them. Plus you get that free bonus product every month. It's so very generous. Okay, let's talk about giveaways. Remember, I am giving away backgrounds I made in this video but didn't turn into cards. I actually have 4 of them I'll be giving away today. And to enter, it's very simple. Just leave a comment, and then on next month's video, I will announce the winner. So here's those 4 backgrounds I didn't end up using. They are all gorgeous. Now, if you win and get that solid foiled background, you make sure to not put glue on the back of it or it will show through. Put the glue on the surface you're sticking it down to. Okay, then last month's winner is Debbie Miller 7707. She won a card from some previous club kit videos plus one from last month's video, the April club kit. So if you missed that video, I'll link it for you here as well as my live video so you can check out my other flamingo card. And I just thank you so much for coming by. I will see you all again very soon with a new video. Happy stamping. Bye.